Has any photographer missed the first kiss, and how do you redo it?
Don't feel like you need to throw off an air of like, I know everything. If you don't, it's perfectly cool not to.
My question is, have you ever seen a photographer, videographer fight?
Today, we're talking about things you should not do during a ceremony, and we're going to be eating some Swanson's TV dinners. I'm joined by Master Officiant Jeff Maeck. How many weddings do you officiate in any given year?
There's a lot of weddings going on, but this year, well, we're gonna find out how many more I can do after I have Swanson dinner. It might be capped at today, I don't know.
This might be his last
but this year will be just under 400. So it's been a good, busy, it's been a busy little year.
400 weddings.
A lot of people getting married.
You up there? You got 400?
No. Gosh, no. That's, what, 4 a day?
that math checks out.
How many days are in a year? Yeah.
We're also joined by Timothy Musa.
Hello.
Would you like to introduce yourself and list some, I don't know, references?
Taylor's a reference. Jeff's a reference. Both of my references are here, so if you like to check in with them, they'll tell you everything you need to know. I'm a wedding photographer, filmmaker based in Waterloo, Ontario, Canada. I travel everywhere for weddings. I do work with Taylor, have been since 2015. And this might, like Jeff said, might be the last day that we get to do anything together because I'm not unconvinced this won't kill us.
At least you go out with great hair.
Thanks, man.
Honestly, that's just like an old hamburger patty from an A&W, and they're just firing it into that container. And they're like, here you go, Salisbury. This is the worst. Where are the grill marks? You know what's crazy is this looks less appetizing than airplane food.
I'm afraid that I might like it.
You want to walk us through?
Sure. Starting top left, we have corn, which looks
corn looks fine.
Food grade, I guess. It's very yellow.
The brownie looks actually pretty good.
The brownie looks like it's been steamed and puffed up in a way that most appetizing piece. The potatoes look very reconstituted, as Jeff said. They don't look...
Looks a bit like rice.
Oh, wow. They're so fluffy to the point where like it's probably 80% air. Oh, God. And then we have the beef, not beef, drowning in sauce.
Plastic is vegan, right?
Did you bake this in the oven?
This is in the oven for 40 minutes. In the container with the film on it. It says to remove the film from the brownie.
Did the film disappear? Did it melt?
I took it off.
Food? Oh, you took it off.
And then you have to make little fork holes.
I feel like you don't need the knife, eh? You can just kind of...
You really don't need the knife.
It's pretty just...
It's closer to soup in consistency than it is a solid.
All right, number one thing you shouldn't do during a ceremony. What is it?
Well, before a ceremony, you certainly should not eat a Swanson dinner. That would be number one, guaranteed.
What do you eat before a dinner? Before a ceremony, Jeff? Do you have a ritual with that?
Interesting question. No, I'm liquid only up until about half an hour before, and then I just want maximum caffeine intake. And so at that point, it's just Red Bull to get you just right fired up. And because you haven't had any food for a few hours, it gets spicy real quick.
Right.
Is it one Red Bull or 2 Red Bulls before?
Well, it depends on the day, depends on what's kind of going on.
So 400 weddings, that means you're consuming potentially 800 Red Bulls a year.
This past wedding I did, which was in Ottawa this past weekend, I got to the ceremony, didn't have a Red Bull, asked Michelle, I said, hey, look, like, can you bring me one up here? Like, we were at the hotel, we were at Chateau Laurier, beautiful.
Oh, at the ceremony, I thought.
Beautiful, yeah, and so Michelle's like, great, no problem, I'll get you one. And she brought me the big boy, like the Slurpee-sized one, and I was like, Michelle, like, and the problem is once you open it, you can't, you have to drink it all, like, there's no drinking a little bit. And so I drank the whole thing, which is the equivalent of like 5 Red Bulls. That ceremony was something else. Things went crazy.
Yeah, what have you seen photographers do that's been like a little bit silly, or that you would just be like, maybe don't do that. Maybe that's distracting. Maybe that makes the ceremony, I don't know, takes the focus away from the couple and what's going on.
Yeah, that's a good question. I'm pretty aware during ceremonies, like really paying attention to like photographers, videographers, stuff like that. Partly because I know the direction the ceremony is going, so I know what's coming up. I know the stuff that's going to be funny. I know the stuff that's going to get reactions.
Right.
For me, what feels a little frustrating sometimes is you'll look up and the photographer's like, camera down, not paying attention whatsoever. Like they're not.
You're going into the first kiss.
And, like, and they're not at all into the ceremony. They're basically on their phone, like not paying attention.
Come on, guys.
And it feels like, and I don't know, but it feels like they've gone into the ceremony saying, I know the 3 shots I want to get, and that's all I'm getting. Yeah. And to me, it kind of feels like, oh man, you're missing like all that like candid, fun stuff. And part of it is like, I try to bring that to a ceremony. Maybe they've been to some ceremonies where that doesn't exist, so they're not expecting it. But man, I wish I would look up, because sometimes in moments of like backbreaking humor, funny stuff where I'm like, this is like the iconic ceremony photo right here. And they're like changing a lens, or they're like bent over in their bag, and I'm like, oh dude, was this really like
the time
to just check out? And that's, so I see that a bunch. And I think the other thing that I see often is photographers trying to control what the ceremony is going to look like. And sometimes I feel like it stifles some of the creativity that I bring to the ceremony, and say, hey, like I created this thing that we're going to do, and like I would love for you to capture what's been created, not try to recreate something last minute based on the vision that you had for the ceremony. Because it's kind of like, hey, we've all kind of been hired to be creative people and bring a certain creative aspect to it, and it feels a little bit like, hold on, no, you're not done yet. No, I'm done. You push that up. You gotta finish. You gotta finish the contract.
You can't leave the dinner table until you finish your meal. I would sit there for hours.
How was brownie?
Brownie was the best part.
Would you go brownie, corn, potato, beef?
I'd go brownie and then just full stop. You mentioned it's a creative space that you bring a lot to. Photographers bring a lot to.
Right. We all kind of bring our own creative vision of what we're trying to do, and when I try to create something really creative, really fun, really dynamic and interesting, my hope is that the photographer is ready to capture what's being created, capture those candid moments, and not try to orchestrate too much of it based on their experience, but saying, this is what's happening in front of you, capture this.
I have two follow-ups.
I want to hear it.
Number one, would you ever consider getting like a buzzer system? So you know, like when something's coming up that's going to get a good reaction, you just like buzz, and the photographer gets like a little buzz in their pocket, so they know to get in position and frame up like the grandparents or whatever.
Like a shock collar.
Yeah.
That's pretty interesting.
We'll do that. I'll buy one of those on Amazon. I don't know what it's called, but I'm sure we can get it.
That's okay. So that's pretty interesting. So what I like to do before a ceremony, well, you guys, you know what I do anyway. So, but if it's someone I haven't worked with before, I like to front load like before the ceremony. They normally like to tell me like, hey dude, like do this, do whatever. I'm like, okay, cool. Like,
elaborate on that. Never told them. Yeah.
Well, I know you guys have never done that. It feels that way sometimes, and it feels a little bit like demeaning a bit, because I'm kind of like, hey, like we're like professionals in a creative space, like we understand what we're here to do, and they skip the relational piece and say, hey, couple quick things. Get out of the way of the first kiss, make sure we're doing this, and when are we signing? I'm like, oh, let's back up a step. Hi, my name is Jeff. Great to meet you. You're the photographer. You have a camera. I love that. It's just a little bit interesting where I'm like, we skipped all this stuff. What is going on here? And there's no dialogue, no conversation. And it starts off on a weird note of saying, okay, interesting.
I need these things from you.
Here's we're not on this team together. We're on opposing teams. And it's very weird. It's a very weird start to the ceremony. And so what I like to do is chat with photographers beforehand if I don't know them, and say, hey, what I like to do is, the first third of the ceremony is going to be pretty engaging, pretty charismatic and funny. That's the best candid photos to take. And that's funny to like look up and they're like out to lunch, not paying attention. I'm like, hi, like I told you, these are the best photos. Again, I don't create the photos, so I don't know, right? You guys have all the skill, but I'm just trying to warn them in advance. These are going to be some pretty cool photos that you might not get. But man, a buzzer system would be all right too. Just like a little like, like hi, pay attention.
Yeah.
But also like, if it's the type of person that would have one of those buzzers, there's a pretty good chance they're paying attention. Because like a ceremony is, we're not doing like full Catholic mass here. We're doing like maybe 20 minutes, like start to finish. So I can be aware and focused for 20 minutes of a day during the reason that the couple, like the ceremony is the reason for the wedding most of the time, technically.
It does feel like maybe people or photographers are used to seeing a certain style of ceremony, and that's like kind of their picture of, okay, I already know what's going to happen. It's going to be this, it's going to be that. I need to capture this first photo here, this photo of the first kiss, and this photo of them signing. And my hope is kind of encourage them and say like, hey, there's like some new stuff that's taking place, or there's different people that do different things, and it's worth capturing. And a lot of times when couples hire me, they're hiring me for that result. Like that's the result they're actually looking for. But if the photographer's not ready to actually capture it, I think the couple feels like, oh man, like that's what we were actually hoping for, and they get the moments, like I provide the moment, but it doesn't get documented. And my hope is that couples look back on the ceremony and see that photo and say like, this is a reminder that this was the best day of my life, and marrying this person was the best decision I ever made. Like that's what that photo to me represents. That's the result I'm trying to provide for someone.
Follow-up question number 2.
Okay, follow up.
Has any photographer missed the first kiss, and how do you redo it?
Ooh, missed it, yes. redone it. Actually, it did happen once where they redid it. That was a very strange experience because they called it out right after it happened. It's kind of
like during the ceremony.
Yeah, during end of the ceremony. End of this. What was the scenario? I think their card was full. I think that's what it was. Oh. Because it was super awkward. Because I asked them after. Oh. I said, "What happened?" That was like a little bit of a different thing. And I try not to be like. I know they're embarrassed by it, and I try not to be like. We're like, "Oh, hey, like, what happened there?" And oh, my card was full. I was like, "What?" And I don't know anything about photography, but I'm like, I feel like that's like charging the batteries and like maybe having a card that's has a couple space available for photo would be key. And they redid it. They redid the in the moment. And which is weird too, because like from an energy standpoint of like flow of excitement, it's like the kiss is like boom, everyone's like excited, like whoa my gosh, I'm married. Like it's like the climax of the ceremony, and then it like calms down a little bit. Normally that's when I present them, but they're like, whoa, oh hold on a sec, let's do the kiss again. And there was like a decent pause because it's not like you just like I don't know switch the card quickly. It was like it took a second to like get it in there. I think everyone was like, what are we doing here? Guys? But, yeah, very interesting experience. Wow. That was this year. That's the only time that's happened. That was this year.
I've missed one, but it was like Catholic ceremonies. It's like always sneaky kiss.
Ooh, yeah.
So my second caught it. It was not the ideal angle, but it existed.
Yeah.
And then I didn't necessarily like redo it entirely, but I just had them go up to the spot that they got married and do a kiss. And I was like, I don't know.
Good enough.
They want a picture.
For sure. There it is. Yeah.
It's there. Yeah. But yeah, so I appreciate the non-sneaky first kiss. That's like the one where like the priest or the officiant would just like whisper to them. It's like, you can kiss now. Yeah. And it's like behind the signing table. Yeah.
Yeah, I try to give as much information as possible to photographers and generally like they're professionals, they're pros, they know what they're doing, but when you do things a little bit differently, I find it good. And I never do it in a way that's like, I want to tell people how to do their job because nobody likes that. And I've been told how to do my job enough times where I'm like,
not fun.
Cool, like thanks guys, I didn't know, I shouldn't do that. That it's just more of like, hey, be prepared. After we sign the marriage license, all the good stuff's going to take place. And so it's like, just be prepared, boom, 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 all the good stuff.
Yeah. Have you had kind of like the sand ceremony, but instead it's a couple that one of them prefers sugar Red Bull and one of them prefers sugar-free, and they mix them together and they both sip?
Have not seen that yet. I'm not quite sure. Like there probably would be a couple that'd be into doing like maybe just like shotgun. I don't know, maybe just shotgun and Red Bull like right after. It's like a unity ceremony. I'd be into that.
What other tips do you have for photographers? Let's say it's a photographer, they've never shot a wedding before. They're coming down to potentially maybe the chapel. I feel like I shot a bunch of my first weddings in a similar environment before you renovated it and made it look beautiful. It's your first wedding, you're going in, you're walking in that door. You kind of understand what a wedding is, maybe you've been to one.
Right.
What should a photographer know?
Yeah, I always want people to feel like they have all the details. Like I feel like if you're starting, I was chatting with a woman this morning who wants to become an officiant, and she's understandably a little bit nervous, doesn't know all the pieces, like how all that stuff works. And I remember doing my first wedding a lot of years ago and walking in and being like, I have no real idea. Like what you don't know. You don't know what you don't know until you go through the experience. I was like, man, I sure wish I had someone like kind of coach me through that stuff to prep me a little bit. And then like it lessens the learning curve a bit. You feel a bit more confident. Those photographers, which I meet often, I love to just connect with them beforehand and make them feel really comfortable and say, hey, this is the space. Why don't you take some shots? Do you need anything moved? Do you need anything from me? I want to run you through the ceremony, what to expect. So no surprises. Like I want to make sure, and I would say for those new photographers, they should feel confident or comfortable asking that stuff too. Don't feel like you need to throw off an air of like, I know everything. If you don't, it's perfectly cool not to. In that space in particular, we work with lots of new photographers, new vendors who are just kind of feeling things out. And I always want to be the person who's like encouraging and saying like, I want to help you be successful in this, but I also want you to serve the couple really well by taking great photos. And so like, I'm not going to tell you how to take the photo, but I'll sure tell you some things that you are going to want to capture and moments that'll be good.
I can't help but notice you guys both did not finish your Salisbury steaks.
Well, Tim called out what I was actually already fearful of. It was the mystery chewy bit that's in like every sausage. It's right there in mine. I saw it at the top.
But this isn't meat.
It's soy protein. It's beans.
What are they doing?
It's beans.
I'm eating the corn. I'm really digging the corn.
It's macroplastics. That's the chewy bit.
I tried it all. It was all fine. The potatoes were not good. It was a 5 out of 10. I've had worse.
5 out of 10?
I've had worse at weddings.
5 out of 10?
For this?
Give me a 5 out of 10. Oh my gosh, you guys. What is this rating system here? I would take one more just because I want a slight taste of 4.
Oh, God.
The gravy, though,
have you combined the gravy with the potatoes? Have we tried that?
Oh, no, I haven't.
Or gravy with it? I feel like gravy, it's the glue of the whole situation, although this could be
What is the gravy? Oh, the gravy was the second ingredient, right?
It doesn't get better when it's cooler.
Oven, everything was cooked. Whereas if we would have done this in the microwave, these would have been icy.
These are always frozen in the middle.
Yeah,
but
so
that's
the icy potato.
That's kind of like the childhood experience where it's frozen. You gotta like spin it around a little bit to mix the frozen. Yeah.
Well, Tim, what are your suggestions
for this?
For your first wedding ever? Yeah. First Swanson or first wedding?
File for bankruptcy.
Could be either.
I would lean on things I've seen in the past. So first of all, you should not be going alone if it's your first wedding. That's my opinion, at least. You should have a second, like Lindsay Coulter did. She hired Nova to be her second on her wedding day, her first wedding she shot. And realistically, Lindsay was just seconding for Nova, who took the reins and kind of understood what a wedding day looks like, where she should be, what photos to take. That's a super pro move. If you're doing video, I would suggest you schedule for the entire day, like 12 plus hours. Just be like, okay, when do they start? When do they end? I'm gonna be there for all of it, because you don't know, like you said, Jeff, what you don't know. And if you're able to capture everything, you have more flexibility in post-production to like create a video that is good, as opposed to like, well, show for 7 hours, we'll be fine. It won't be. And also, if you're a videographer for the first time, you should follow the photographer as much as possible, just shooting over their shoulder. Do less directing than you think you should, because you probably are going to put them in weird positions that you wanted to be using. So just shoot over top of the photographer. Respectfully, don't like get up in their grill.
You can just mount a camera too.
Yeah, if you could put like a magnet system helmet on their chest, that'd be pretty. Foam dome, camera on one side. Yeah, just kind of observe as much as you possibly can. It's not going to be great, but chances are if it's your first wedding, you're not charging a lot. The couple kind of understands the fact that, you know, this is your first crack at this bat. And that's another point. You should let them know that it's your first wedding. Don't just like, I've done 1,000, it's fine. And then show up and be like, what? What's the church? You need to know the basics. So whether that's finding someone in the community that you can shadow for a day, or sit down and go for coffee beforehand, kind of ask what is important on a wedding day, what do couples look for? And also, you know, reach out to your couple and find out what they're looking for. Do they want moments of getting ready? Do they want first dances? Find out exactly, specifically what they want captured, because they probably have a good idea of what that is, and they'll be helpful to inform you. And then that way you go into it. And if you missed the first kiss, at least you tried. You know, you gave it your best. Make them do it again.
Would you say that when you deliver it to them? I tried my best. I tried my best.
I've never missed a first kiss, which is wild, because it's been years of doing this now. I remember you told me the story when you missed that first kiss, from your perspective at least, and that was like the beginning of your career. That was what, like 2014, 15, 13?
Like 2006.
Yeah, okay, way earlier. So I think that's something that just comes with like doing the job over a long enough period of time. You kind of get to know the ins and outs, which moments to like not miss altogether. I'm interested to know, Jeff, from your perspective. You've worked with more videographers and photographers than we have. We work with each other. We work with friends.
Who's the best one?
Who's number one? No. My question is, have you ever seen a photographer videographer fight? Any fisticuffs or any kind of like any kind of like awkward situations where it's like they're shooting over each other and there's like a nudge or like some kind of like
Yeah. Again, I tread carefully because like.
You don't have to name names.
Oh, I would never name names. Okay. No. But like this is okay. Yeah. Put a photo of them up. I think the times I've seen that happen most is, at least is my interpretation of it, when the photo video team have a battle for dominance of who's the alpha dog on the day and forgets that, hi, we're all a team that's been hired to create the same thing. The only times I see battles is a photographer, videographer being like, this is my shot, I need to be here, and them saying, this is my shot, I need to actually get that. And they never realize, hi, we could both exist in the same space to create this beautiful thing. And I don't see it resolved in the ceremony. And so it's actually, again, as I'm kind of watching, as I'm doing the ceremony, I can see little battles going on of like trying to push and find the right spot.
When like if somebody's in the center of the aisle,
you see that all the time. Yeah.
Like, what do you do?
Yeah, they totally do. And so I think kind of going into it with a bit of humility, saying, although we've been all hired independently, we're all assembled to be the team here to accomplish kind of the same goal and the same vision of a memorable day for the couple. And I think a lot of people forget that. And I would say the
Richard is coming. He knows that the Salisbury steak is not
He's like, I know you didn't finish it. I can see it.
I don't even know if he would want this.
He would eat this.
Yeah.
Sorry, it's a combined goal of the day.
It's a combined goal, and I think for everyone to go into it with the humility of saying we want the same result, but then having the conversation with each other beforehand, not letting this 1 minute before the ceremony be the time that you establish who's doing what, where everyone's going, but saying you should likely connect before that moment because it's too late at that point. And so, yeah, I see that stuff a lot. Again, I'm pretty removed from it because I don't really have anything to do with it, but I sure see it. I'm not sure what it leads to in terms of our product, what ends up being produced at the end. I do think it ends up being both of them independently talking to the couple afterward and trying to say like, well, this person did blank, which prevented me from this, and that person did. And like, I think there's a bit of that goes on, and that doesn't seem professional or good for anyone involved, for the couple or for either business, but you do kind of see a little bit of that. I should give one more note. So I've been saying things of like, hey, photographers, videographers should know this. I think on the flip side, for me, I'm very final image driven. I'm always picturing what I want that final photo to look like and to help create it. I think our job is to understand how to help you create it. So I think there's a job on the officiant's part as well to understand what moments are really key and to do their best to like facilitate that shot, not hinder it, not be doing like weird faces, not be standing in places they shouldn't be. They should know all that stuff to be able to, basically to help you produce the best possible image. Like, I'm on your team, I'm trying to help you do that. I'm gonna create the moment to do it and make sure it's like, I'm out of there. So there's a part on us to know it, and I feel like maybe a lot of officiants don't know what those moments are.
And iPad brightness at a reasonable level.
That's right.
It's like peaked, it's just like,
it is, yeah.
especially if it's a low light ceremony.
Or if you've got an iPad case and there's like an annoying color on the back of it or something, like that'll be so weird.
Can't
imagine what a red one would look like. That'd be dumb.
Well, I think that's about all for the Swanson TV dinners. We didn't even have drinks.
I don't know what you drink with this aside from Pepto.
No, it's got to be Diet Coke.
Diet Pepto.
Cheers, everyone.
Cheers.
Diet Coke.